Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news this Tuesday morning, the 7th of June. The transfer window opens on Friday, by the way, the 10th of June. So will that make any difference to Manchester United? In what I would admit, and I sort of want to hit it on straight away this morning, it is becoming a little bit elongated, typical Manchester United transfer window, especially around a certain deal that I don't really want to talk about in the first few minutes of the show. Lots to talk about. We've got updates on Ruben Neves. We've got some clarification points around Darwin Núñez. Obviously, we spoke about it last night at 8 o'clock. It's now being reported by British media outlets. But we're going to start off with Jurrien Timber. Now, this is a transfer concern for Manchester United. I saw Romano was talking about it yesterday. Few Dutch outlets are really confident about it, and this is all based around what sort of hit last week, that Timber is seriously contemplating staying at Ajax for another year. Now, I'm reading the chat. Got no problem with people having different opinions on the chat. As you know, I'll stand by my opinion. That's absolutely the way it's going to be. It's not ridiculing your opinion. It's called sticking up my own opinion. But welcome to a show that welcomes opinions. I just don't necessarily have to agree with them. People seem to not understand that. If I'm to have an opinion, how can I promote everybody else's opinion? I can acknowledge it, don't have to agree with it, otherwise my opinion means nothing. So a little bit of clarification sandwich there. But in relation to Timber, we've always been very well informed on this deal, whether it's from United side, the player side, the Dutch side. Now, without a question, probably 2-3 weeks ago now, we did a video saying about Timber and conversations with Timber and Manchester United. Jurrien Timber is a high priority signing for Erik ten Hag. That's the most important thing to say. The most important thing in all of this, whether it's Timber, De Jong, Núñez, Neves, whoever, priority signings for Erik ten Hag, and there are two. Frenkie De Jong, Jurrien Timber. They are two of his big priorities. If United don't deliver them, then United have failed. Manchester United let Pogba go for free 10 years ago. They spent £90 million to bring him back and they've just let him go for free. Let's not pretend that this football club is anywhere near adequate at transfers. The list is long, very long. We made Alexis Sanchez the best paid player in the Premier League history, and that was a mistake. We spent £80 million on Harry Maguire, 50 on Wan-Bissaka. Our recent history in transfers is a joke, and it's a very bad joke. So let's not sit here and go, oh, your information about Timber wasn't right. You can speak to the best source close to Ajax you like. Speak to Mike Verwell. Speak to European lad. Ask them about United's interest in Timber and they will tell you it's 100%. We're in for Timber. We want Timber, and Erik ten Hag really wants him. Now, we've always been told that Timber, Manchester United, he'd like to come to Manchester United. That terms are agreed with Manchester United. But when you elongate a deal and when Ajax are desperate not to sell, that's not deal done. A fee needs to be agreed. And Ajax really are digging their feet in that they don't want to sell him and they're trying to keep him. And that's where we are with this. And it's now being picked up by a lot of outlets, and there is now confidence around Ajax that they can persuade him to stay. And that's the key word, persuade. Am I changing from 80% sure that Timber's coming to Manchester United? No. I know a lot of you are. I know a lot of journalists are. I know there's a lot of confidence around Ajax. Even this morning, I'm reading that they're feeling good. They've lost Ten Hag. Obviously, they expect to lose. They've lost Gravenberch and a couple of others, but they expect to bring Bergwijn to the club. They expect to keep Timber. They've got a new manager. They're feeling confident. Persuasion is key with Timber. I can only give you my opinion that I think we'll do this deal. As of today, there is nothing that's made me change my mind. And the reason I remain confident is because I remain focused on a new manager who wants this player, and my eyes are on the Manchester United Football Club saying, how can you not deliver this deal? Ten Hag's put the groundwork in with Timber about this project. Timber a few weeks ago was very, very excited about coming to Manchester United. What has changed in our persuasion tactics? And are we falling into the same trap that we've seen year after year after year, where we take too long on a deal, we negotiate the price instead of, confirming the player? And if we don't get Timber, then if I'm Erik ten Hag, I'm like, what am I doing? This is a player I managed. This is the player I gave a debut to. If you can't deliver me this player, What chance have I got? I bloody gave him a debut. I was managing him a few weeks ago. I've basically said, come to Man United and be part of my project. I've told you he's my number one priority, and you've still messed it up. That would be a big blow, and that is why I don't think Manchester United will blow this deal, because the world knows we want Timber. Everyone knows Erik ten Hag wants him, and if we don't get him, it's Manchester United who failed. Now, I, like many people, have got a lot of respect for Ajax, and if Timber ends up staying, then he ends up staying. But I'm not concerned about this at the moment. I still believe that United will get this deal done. But if they don't, then it's a massive, massive failing on their part, aren't they? We're not talking about huge amounts of money. We shouldn't be negotiating over £5 million when it's a priority signing. I understand if they want 60 million, you've got to walk away. But if they want 40 million, there's a deal to be done there. It's a priority signing. And look, I've pinned the video at the top of the chat. If you haven't watched it from this morning, I know people are getting a bit fed up of all the transfer stuff, so what we're trying to do this summer is integrate it with some non-transfer stories about the general state of the club. These videos tend to be going up at 7 a.m. when you wake up. The latest one is about the end of De Gea. I want De Gea to stay, but I've not heard anybody say this about David De Gea, whether they're pro or against him. The drop-off, statistically, in his ability to take crosses from Mourinho to now is ridiculous, and I think it's tactical, and nobody wants to talk about that. The bottom line is David De Gea was taking as many crosses as Alisson and Ederson was, and now he's taking half. Why is that? Is that a tactical thing? So check that video out, because I think, you know, on the whole De Gea debate, whether you love De Gea or whether you want him changing, watch a video that actually looks at it pragmatically from both sides. It's well worth a watch, and I think that is something that feeds into Timber. Like, how can we have a sweeper keeper when we have got a defensive line on the edge of our box? How can we play better progressive football and pass the ball around more with the centre-backs that we've got? This is the whole point of bringing in a player like Timber. He's quick, he's confident on the ball, he can pass between the lines, he knows how to play the football that Ten Hag wants. And of course there are, if Timber ends up staying at Ajax, which I'd be very surprised about because he's only got 2 years left on his deal, so to stay at Ajax he's got to sign a new contract. They won't be able to pay him the wages we would. He maybe prices himself out of a move in a year's time. It just doesn't make sense to me. And also, if he's worried about his World Cup spot, you're starting for us, mate. Like, we haven't got a centre-back like you, so you're going to start for us. This player, Erik ten Hag, much like Frankie de Jong, if he gets Timber, he knows it's a centre-back who can play the way he wants to play. It saves him time, and he can trust him. We have to get this deal done. Ben Lar, thank you for being a member for 7 months. So, yeah, look, of course, it's a news show. It's a morning news show. I think some people get lost up in what I think and what's a news show. Like, still, I read the comments where people go, but yesterday you said transfer close with Timber, and now you're saying transfer fear. I'm not saying anything. Like, these stories, it's a news show. You expose yourself as not being the brightest tool in the box when you start contradicting about our thumbnails on the news show, because it's a news story. The news story at the moment is that there's a fear that Man United won't sign Timber. If I was doing it on me, people would go mad saying, we don't want your sources, they belong in the kitchen cupboard. In which case, that's up to you. Obviously, we've been proven right on quite a lot of things recently, including the Ronaldo thing was the most recent thing. We knew he was out injured before anybody else did. So, look, you believe what you want to believe, but this is a news story that there's a fear that Timber could stay at Ajax. And what I would say is, I'm not going to not acknowledge the news. There is confidence around Ajax and from Dutch sources that they think they can get him to stay. That would be a major blow for Manchester United, and it would be an L. It would be a capital L, because it would be letting down the manager on his priority centre-back. JD wins these. Thank you. Welcome to the Members Club. Of course, in relation to Timber, there are alternatives. Morning, Mark. We are Manchester United. We don't need to persuade anyone, says Mikael Roach. I don't know what year you're living in, mate, but it ain't 1999 anymore. It's 2022 and we're shit. We do need to persuade good players to come to our club, because unfortunately, as much as I'd love you to be right, and I love this club as much as anyone, we've been run like a shambles for 10 years. We need to persuade players to come to our club, whether it's Ruben Neves, Torres, Bissouma, Calvin Phillips, these players will snub us. We have to persuade them to come to this club. We have to sell the project. Otherwise, people will look at us and go, why would I come to this club and waste my career? 100%. We won't end up getting De Ligt. Hug, we will not get De Ligt. I'd be stunned if I'm wrong on that. We won't get De Ligt. If we don't get Timber, then obviously we'd be looking at Torres. I think there are a couple of other centre-backs that we may look at as well. The Eintracht Frankfurt centre-back, potentially. His name, was it Ndiki? I think we may look at him. Badashil wouldn't surprise me from Monaco as well. There are good alternative centre-backs. In no way am I going to get into the mindset of saying, well, you know, we should be going for we should go for Torres over Timber anyway. That's not the point. It's not what I think's better. It's not what you think's better. That's always going to generate opinion. Of course it is. It's what Erik ten Hag wants. And I think that when he wants Timber and we don't deliver Timber, then that is a really bad reflection on Manchester United's ability to do transfers. Which feeds into what I mean, look, I don't want to talk about De Jong, and I don't think anybody wants to really spend time talking about De Jong, but there are updates, and one of them is from Dutch sources, so I just want to bring it in. If the right price is paid to Barcelona, Frenkie de Jong is gone. Erik ten Hag wants to bring him to Manchester United. He is the top priority signing. I mean, that is not incorrect. He is the top priority signing because he's the marquee signing and he's the player that he really does want with Timber. But I've got to say this, and I'm sure everybody else probably feels the same. Before I do that, let me just read these super chats. He might be worried about adjusting to the new league and that could affect his World Cup chances. Well, he's probably not the player for United then, Tao, is he? Because that's not a very confident player if he doesn't think he can come to a club and prove himself. Carl Dawson, Mark, would you consider loans with options to buy? It's worked with other teams around us. Just a thought, what would you think, says Carl. I'd judge it on a case-by-case basis, Carl, really. What loan with an option to buy are you talking about? I mean, if it's Kulusevski or Bentancur, it's worked really well for Spurs. It depends on the type of player that we're looking at, really. Hi, Mark. I don't know why, but I've got a bad feeling about this window. I was definitely more positive when Ralph was still in the club. Hope I'm wrong, says Daniel Hodgson. I don't think you're wrong, Daniel. I don't agree with you. I do think that we will deliver a very good transfer window. But I also think, Daniel, it would be wrong to ignore Daniel's concerns. This football club isn't suddenly better at transfers because we brought Erik ten Hag in as manager. Like, Mert has been here for years. Darren Fletcher's got no experience. Who is negotiating? There is this desire from the club to be better. No doubt about that. And Erik ten Hag is a leaning towards a changing Manchester United, because we know that traditionally Pochettino would have been brought in. There is a desire to be new and better, but it doesn't mean we are going to be new and better. And I have concerns as well. I mean, on the Timber deal, that feels like that's drifting. It's 3 weeks since Timber was in talks with United about a potential move. Nothing's happened in 3 weeks. With with Frenkie de Jong, it's 4 weeks tomorrow. I think it's 4 weeks. It may be 5. Someone in the chat will know. 4 weeks tomorrow, a month since Gerard Romero mentioned Manchester United's interest. Now, considering that wouldn't have been the day where the interest started, there'd have been at least a week or two before that. We're already turning De Jong into Pogba and Harry Maguire and Bruno Fernandes, where they're exciting deals that drag on for bloody ages. Now, of course, Manchester United are dealing with Barcelona here, who are trying to sort out other financial ways, but I don't necessarily believe that. Barcelona need the money so that they can get Lewandowski and other players. They're struggling to raise the money elsewhere. I just think this has concerning boredom attached to it, where it's a typical Manchester United signing that we didn't really want to have to endure again. We needed to be efficient and quick this summer transfer window, and there's plenty of time still to be that. But on De Jong, it is already 4 weeks since we had this amazing story from Gerard Romero, who's a Spanish outlet close to Barcelona, and he said 95% by the end of the month. It's the 7th of June. May has been and gone, and United are doing what United do, taking the joy out of any potential transfer. We've not even put an official bid in yet. let alone negotiate with the player. Let's just hope that in our pursuit of Timber and especially De Jong, we don't miss out on other targets and end up with the shambles of a transfer window, says Anurag. Well, look, you know, I removed Ten Hag from this responsibility. I removed the fans from this as well. What we're effectively facing up to here is, why are Manchester United in this situation? Why is this happening? And quite simply, the club is on trial, aren't they? It's the club. It's the club's ability to do transfers. And they may sit there and go, as long as we get the job done in the end, it's fine. But I disagree with that. It's not just about getting the job done in the end. It's about being efficient. As I said, Liverpool with Fabinho, linked to him at 8 o'clock, he's signed by 9 o'clock. United can be linked to a player in May and sign them in August. We're way too slow. We're way too slow. And remember, we're dealing with a club that needs to sell here. Like, why is the bid not gone in? Why are we not moving this deal through? And if we're not moving the deal through because we're being played, then maybe we shouldn't be playing that game. So all the optimism around Erik Ten Hag is ebbing away as the familiar United failings in the transfer window manifest themselves, says McElvis. Thank you very much for the super chats coming in. I feel with Frankie de Jong, I'm the same as everybody. I was away at the weekend. I didn't really get to take much notice of the content we put in out, and we didn't really talk about De Jong. There was some really good videos with Adam a couple of times about, you know, who should go and who should be brought in. And I read a lot of the comments yesterday after the afternoon show where I was talking about Barcelona having to sell De Jong, and a lot of people were like, I'm bored of this De Jong story. And I thought, you know what, I am. I really am. This is like, I remember a few years ago in an old house we were having. I was a kid. I was in my teens. It wasn't my house, and we were having a conservatory built. It wasn't a massive conservatory. We lived in a semi-detached house. It was just like a little one on the end. It was meant to take a few weeks, and the builders didn't turn up for a couple of months. And then when they did, it took them about 6 months because they'd be on and off the job, and it was constantly, when's this going to be done? We're going to really get our heads down next week. We're looking at, you know, maybe a couple of weeks, and then a couple of weeks later they hadn't got their heads down. And is this going to happen? And it feels like that with Manchester United and De Jong. It's like every update at the moment is, Barcelona, they'd really be tempted by an €80 million bid. Manchester United are preparing a bid for De Jong. Ten Hag's really seduced Frankie de Jong. I mean, I get visions of Ten Hag in a miniskirt, you know, taking Frankie de Jong for a meal. It's like, why are we using the word seduce? But it does feel like that. It feels like a lot of hot air at the moment. Ultimately, a transfer can be done very quickly. There's 70 million quid. Barcelona will take it. Frankie de Jong, there's good wages. Let's get on with it. What's the barrier there? Is it that Frankie de Jong doesn't want to come? I can't imagine a scenario where Ten Hag is telling us to try and buy a player that he hasn't spoken to. So I don't think that's the case. Is it Barcelona trying to get 80 million? I don't think that would be the case. They're desperate for money. Is it Man United trying to get as cheap a price as possible? Probably. I think we're probably spending the last month negotiating the price down. And that obviously is a bit of a concern. Can't believe people are sending super chats just to criticise you and still get deleted, says Tristan. I don't know what they're criticising about because I don't read them and I'm not moderating, so I don't know what's going on there, Tristan. I'm more than open to criticism, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what the criticism is, Tristan. I think that ultimately I've been doing the transfer window for 7 years now, and people get very toxic in a transfer window. I love the transfer window. I think it's a really exciting time. It does play with your emotions, of course, and I think some people can't deal with it. And I would advise those people to probably just switch off from football and come back in August, because I don't think that they really have the maturity to deal with it. Well. Ultimately, they just don't understand how a transfer window works. You know, that there are. I'm very confident with the information that we've had. I'm very confident on Timber and Timber and De Jong at the moment. But obviously, I'm fully aware that at 3 o'clock this afternoon, Timber might announce he's staying at Ajax to sign a new contract. I have got no control over that. It's a very dynamic summer transfer window. It always is. And you need to be mature and open to the fact of that. But ultimately, I do feel that United are on trial this summer transfer window, and that's where your scrutiny should be. We're still owned by the Glazers. We still haven't ever recruited specialists. You look at Chelsea, and I think she's leaving at the end of this summer transfer window. I believe her name's Marina. Brilliant reputation in the Chelsea fan base for getting players in. Man United have never, ever, ever been good at this. And, well, certainly not in the last 10 years. We've not been good at it. And that's where the frustration has to lie. And Man United might not want to own that, but Manchester United do have to own that. Your recruitment is an embarrassment in the world of football, not just to the fan base. Your recruitment is ridiculous. And as I've said, the Paul Pogba thing is a joke. We lost him for free, we never should. We spent 90 million to get him back, and we've lost him for free again. I think it's right that we part ways with Pogba, but you can't not analyse the inability to get things done. Watched Ray Lehmer play yesterday. He was involved in every attack moved by Austria, who had 16 attempts. Ralf Rangnick plays very attacking football, says Rimbeck. And what if here, sell Alanga for 20 or Garner for 30 with buybacks increases transfer budget, says Mohammed. I wouldn't do that. I really wouldn't do that. I think that would be a mistake to let him go. I think that would be either of those two players. But look, it's interesting with Austria. They lost to Denmark 2-1 yesterday. Denmark are a very good side, but Austria had 17 shots to Denmark's 8 and had 55% possession. Austria seem to have reacted very well to Ralf Rangnick in the both games. I haven't seen the highlights of the Denmark game, so I'd bow down to those who did, but I did see the first game where they beat Croatia away 3-0. Saw the highlights of that, and the way that they played was really good, unrecognisable to how United played. And it's a bit embarrassing for United players again that Ralf Rangnick's gone into a team, and international football's slower, of course it is, but he's still got that team playing a lot better than he got Manchester United playing. So there we go. Just a bit of an update on a couple of things as well I wanted to just mention. You may well remember this from the last night's show. This is coming in from Alex Crook on Talk Sport. Manchester United have a genuine interest in Darwin Núñez, but a deal for him is not as close as been suggested in the Portuguese media. Liverpool are also genuine contenders to sign him. That came out last night, that update on Talk Sport from Alex Crook at about 10 o'clock. We'd spoken about it at 8 o'clock. So either they're watching the United stand or they're getting similar information that we're getting. And this is interesting because I mentioned this on the Champions League show we did just before the Champions League, that I'd been told that Liverpool were very confident about signing Darwin Núñez, but the interest from Liverpool is genuine, and the interest from United is genuine, but it's not as advanced as some people want to say it is. Darwin Núñez loves Ronaldo. George Mendes is working on this deal for Darwin Núñez, and George Mendes is Cristiano Ronaldo's agent. I think, ironically, in many ways, we are very confident about getting deals done at Manchester United this summer, but there will be certain deals that are done because of nothing to do with us. Like Mikel Roach said earlier, we shouldn't have to persuade players. We wouldn't have a chance of getting De Jong or Timber if it wasn't for Ten Hag. And I don't think we'd have a chance of getting Darwin Núñez if it wasn't for Cristiano Ronaldo. So where's United's persuasion tactics in that? Timber and De Jong are going to come because of Ten Hag. And Darwin Núñez is going to come because of Ronaldo. That's got nothing to do with the pull of Manchester United or our ability to negotiate well. We're actually utilising... Same with Mourinho. We got Pogba because of Mourinho. We got Zlatan because of Mourinho. So there's nothing wrong with that, but it does highlight the fact that if we do get these players, it's because of the likes of Ten Hag and Ronaldo. It's not because of our recruitment strategy, which, to be honest, I don't think we could get anywhere near. If Ollie was in charge, we wouldn't be getting any of these players because we just wouldn't have the pull. We should not win the transfer race between Liverpool and Manchester United for Darwin Núñez. Liverpool are one of the best teams in the world. They play good football. I think there's a clearer path to the first team for Darwin Núñez, especially if Mane goes at Liverpool. And he's going to get more chance of immediate success. United's more of a project. So if we get Darwin Núñez, that is a very, 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 very good signing for United. But it will be about Ronaldo. It won't be about United. This can't drag like Sancho or Bruno. It's Ten Hag's first season. We need to move quick on these deals and implement these players into the first team, says FIFA Crazy. Thank you very much for the super chat. And Daniel says, wondering what the Man United spin story is next, with it being quiet on incomings, says Daniel. Well, I think I don't want to say that word. I think that, please do smash a like on the video, by the way, if you're watching this morning. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I think that with the transfer window opens on Friday. United can, and any club can always say the transfer window opens on Friday. Now, Haaland's gone to Man City. Jesus is negotiating with Arsenal and Real Madrid. Raheem Sterling is apparently going to go to Chelsea. So deals are happening, but with Man United, they happen in a more public sense. I don't think we can hide behind the fact that the transfer window opens up on Friday and suddenly everything's going to start happening. People are on holiday. Players are on holiday. People are playing international duty. Agents can be spoken to. Deals can be negotiated with clubs. Barcelona aren't on holiday. Ajax aren't on holiday. Manchester United are not on holiday. There are people working that can be working on this. You can't hide behind exactly what somebody said there. This is Ten Hag's first season. We're already playing catch up because he only came into the club and started early a couple of weeks ago. We should be working on deals in and out more efficiently. Why is Dean Henderson still here? Why is Eric Bailly still here? What's happening with Anthony Martial? What's happening with Wan-Bissaka? What's happening with Phil Jones? What's happening with Andreas Pereira? Why are those players even contemplating being taken to Australia? Why bother? They should be left behind and forced to go. Why are we not moving better on players coming into the club? I know transfers are difficult, but why are they difficult? Why are players taking their time? Why are players needing to be persuaded? What's the doubt? Barcelona don't want De Jong. Why does he need to be persuaded? You could look at it like that. Timber's playing for Ajax. We're offering him to play under his manager that he played with under Ajax at Manchester United in the Premier League. Why does he need persuading? Is it because we're not very good at negotiating? These are the questions that will be answered, of course, and I think the fundamentals are going to be that focus needs to be on Manchester United's board and negotiators, because we are bored and tired of how long these things take. And already we are on week 4 of De Jong and week 3 of Timber. And what do we always say about United? 6 weeks and suck the joy out of a deal. If players don't want to come, there's nothing we can do about it. We're damaged good, that's it, says Duncan Edwards. And we should hijack the Kessie deal if Barcelona don't let De Jong go. We can definitely offer a better contract than Barcelona. The thing is, though, Vinil, I would imagine that Kessie wants to go to Barcelona over coming to Manchester United. Maybe players have been told that we're toxic, says IQ. Martial rejected by Benfica, says Suvic. That Benfica story is a load of nonsense. There's 2 stories from yesterday that are a load of nonsense. One, that we got linked to the Benfica centre back. Does he play for Benfica or Sporting? I always get mixed up. Inacio, that's a load of crap. We're not in for him. And then the second story was quite rightly mentioned there by one of our members about Martial rejecting Benfica. Anthony Martial is going to be really difficult to remove from the football club. He's on around 250 grand a week. He's not played well for 18 months. And he's got lots of years left on his contract. Now, Martial may want to go and Manchester United may want to sell, but who's going to buy? Benfica would not be able to afford half his wages at 125 grand a week, let alone pay them all his wages. Anthony Martial is not going to go, I'm not happy at United, I want to leave, give me 80 grand and I'll do it. He's got 2 or 3 years left on a deal that pays him £1 million a month. He's going to want £1 million a month. I can't see us being able to sell Anthony Martial because I can't see anybody buying him. I think we're going to be paying half his wages next season and he's going to go on loan. And I think ultimately we are replicating what happened with Alexis Sanchez. Now, I never thought I would be mentioning Anthony Martial in the same sentence as Alexis Sanchez, because Anthony Martial has actually delivered some big moments in a Manchester United shirt. But the last 18 months has been not good enough. And we are effectively in a position where we've got a player on a lot of money that doesn't want to be here, that we can't sell. And I can't see people keep talking about, well, let's swap him for Benfica. And maybe Benfica would like to swap Nunez for Martial, but they cannot afford his wages. So it becomes redundant. It's the same deal as last summer that people were talking about Martial for Kane. And maybe Spurs would have liked Martial, but Martial would be their best ever paid player at 250 grand a week. That's how much we're paying a player, and that's how ridiculous it sounds when you speak it back. There's no way Spurs would pay those wages. I don't think there's a club... I can't think of a club in the world that's going to pay him those wages. And it's another massive, damaging issue for Manchester United, that they're going to keep having these problems for years because these contracts that they gave out were 4 years. I mean, Harry Maguire's on a 7-year deal. 6 or 7 year deal. What was that all about? 200 grand a week for 6 or 7 years. He basically won the lottery. And I'm not taking the piss out of Harry Maguire there, but that contract was basically ridiculous. There was nobody... Who negotiated the Harry Maguire deal? Because I'd love to have a chat with them and just understand what medicine they need to take. Because what were you thinking? Like, what were you thinking? You weren't buying prime Sergio Ramos. You were buying Harry Maguire from Leicester for £30 million more than you should have done. There wasn't a queue of club. What did Leicester say to you? What did they say? Oh, you better. And Maguire's agent, he deserves... The Queen's just been handing honours out. He deserves one for bloody genius. Is there a genius award? Because Harry Maguire's agent has played a blinder. And Leicester. I mean, 80 million quid. Why? Why did you pay 80 million quid? What were Leicester saying? Oh, you better be quick. You better be quick. Real Madrid are going to offer 75 and Barcelona are going to offer 78. Quick, 80 million, get him. And then we've been mugged off there. You've then got Maguire's agent going, we want a 7-year deal on 200 grand a week. What? Well, if you don't, PSG have got a 300 grand a deal for 4 years, but we'll take 200 for 7. I mean, just why? What was going through Manchester United's head there? What? Literally, I don't understand it. And I think Maguire's a decent centre-back, but he's 100 grand a week for 40 million. That, in hindsight, that's what it is. We paid double. We doubled his wages. The contract should have been 4 years. It's 6 or 7. It's ridiculous. And whoever was involved in that deal, and obviously we know that some of those people are still at the club, it really is embarrassing. Interesting quotes coming out from David Alaba, just won the Champions League with Real Madrid, talking about Rangnick's time at Manchester United. He didn't have a lot of time in Manchester. He has a really good plan and knows a lot about football. Well, obviously Austria are very happy with what he's doing there. I can see Marcus Rashford's doing some sessions, training. Great, good. Big season for you. Obviously, with regards to the Austria-Denmark game, we know that Manchester United had scouts there last night. We were reporting that, and that is believed to be in relation to Christian Eriksen. I mean, if we announced Christian Eriksen as a signing, what would your feelings be on that? I like Eriksen. I think he's a really interesting player, but he's not a centre-back. He's not a holding midfielder. He's not a box-to-box player, and he's not a striker. If that signing got announced as our first signing, I'd be worried. I don't mind him coming in as signing 4 or 5, but as first signing, I don't think that fills me with any confidence. I like Eriksen, but I think it probably poses more questions than it answers, really. That Eriksen's best position is Bruno's position. Well, what are we doing with Bruno? What are we doing with Donny? What are we doing with Mabry? What are we doing with Garnacho? So, yeah, I would welcome the addition of Eriksen, definitely. But hi Mark, understand if you don't read this out. Will there be more new guests soon, like from the auditions? Says Daniel Kirk. There may well be, Daniel. I enjoyed having Charlie on last night. It was good. And as you know, we're always looking to bring people on, but we're looking for something very specific at the moment. It's not just chucking guests on. And you may well notice that the forums have stopped for the summer. We don't do the fan forums over the summer, so the opportunity to get guests on for forums and that has now stopped, because forums just don't work in the transfer window. There's you've got to be fast paced and interacting with the chat, and there's so much to talk about with transfers. It just slows a show down if you go, what do you think about De Jong? And you, and you, and you, and you, and chat. What do you think about Neves? And you, and you, and you. We would have been better off spending 80 million on Leicester's scouting setup than Maguire. Any updates on Schneider, says Mason Reed? No, but I do have a bit of an update on Ruben Neves. So Ruben Neves is the player that everybody thinks that we're going to go for if we don't get De Jong. He is certainly an identified backup option if we don't get De Jong. The interesting thing with Ruben Neves is that we've got to be very careful with this deal. And essentially, Ruben Neves is obviously playing for Portugal at the moment, but his agent is very active. He was virtually crying on the pitch at Molineux on their last home game. He is looking to make a move, and there are clubs looking to make a move for him. This could be a Tielemans scenario if we're not careful. Now, we never furthered our interest in Tielemans, but he was a consideration going into that summer transfer window when he went to Leicester. And he went to Leicester because they wanted him. They were quick, and he wanted to sort his career out. He didn't want to wait. Now, if he'd waited a month or two, maybe United might have gone in for him. Maybe they wouldn't have done. But this is the thing with Neves. We can't be spending time on other players thinking that if we miss out in a month or two, Neves is going to still be there. Neves wants to sort his summer out. He doesn't really want to go back to Wolves pre-season training if he's going to leave. He doesn't want to be one of those players that plays a few games for Wolves in August then leaves. He wants to get his future sorted out. There are options. Barcelona have been mentioned. We've been mentioned. Arsenal have been mentioned. And there's 2 or 3 other clubs apparently. So Neves is on the list for Manchester United. But you've got to be very careful about that. And I suppose it goes back to this whole Timber De Jong thing. How many weeks are we going to be preparing bids, persuading players, etc.? When are we actually going to push through and make a decision on this and be told yes or no? Because the sooner we do that, the sooner then you can start negotiating with Neves. And look, Man United are definitely negotiating with more than one player at a time this summer, which is a step forward. But we're not negotiating with Torres and Neves and Timber and De Jong. That's 4 and Nunez. That's 5. And Richarlison. We're not negotiating with 6 or 7 players. That's not happening. We have interest in players and we've lodged that interest, but we're not negotiating with Neves at the moment because we're apparently negotiating hard with De Jong. So things have to move quicker. And Manchester United will be aware of that. They've got to move quicker because if you're focused on one deal and your backup option's focused on another club, you miss your main deal and you miss your backup option if it falls through. Are we selling McTominay? Not a chance. Not a chance. And how would you feel if De Jong went to City? Says Footy. Well, anything can happen in a transfer window. As I said, maybe De Jong is obsessed with Champions League football and is saying, yeah, I'm interested in United, let's just see. And he's having chats with Man City and Bayern Munich and saying, are you going to bid for me or not? Like, those things could happen. But as I say, there's no reason for me or anybody else to move how confident I am that we'll get De Jong or Timber at the moment. That could change in a few hours. That could change tomorrow. Until we get that big story from somebody credible that this deal is off, then you've got to believe that it's still on. The problem at the moment is that with both Timber and De Jong, I feel that we are where we were 3 weeks ago. Certainly 2 weeks ago. Nothing's changed in 2 weeks with Timber and De Jong, apart from stories about, confidence that they're going to stay. Confidence of a bid. What's actually changed in 2 weeks? Call it how it is. Nothing. Nothing's changed in 2 weeks. And it has to. It's got to start changing. Anyway, look, thanks everyone for tuning in this morning. I hope you have a fantastic day. We'll be back with the show at 2 o'clock, of course. And I've got my FIFA career mode back at 3 o'clock, a brand new season where I've got to sort my transfer window out. But make sure you check out that video that I've pinned at the top of the chat. I think you'll find it really interesting. It's a break from transfers. It's we want to do quite a few of these videos over the summer as well, just to give people a respite from transfers as well. It will be very exciting around transfers, but there will be periods where it gets a bit frustrating, which is I think where we are at the moment. But that video about De Gea, I really enjoyed making it. It's one of the best videos I've done for a while because it was behind the bullshit, really. You know, I'm very focused on De Gea. I think he's the right goalkeeper for United, but I wanted to do a video that focused on the negatives about De Gea, and there are. And it was a massive eye-opener. His game in Mourinho's final season was very, very good in all areas, comparable to people like Edison and Alisson in relation to distribution and everything. And now it's down here. And that video is about why it's down there, so check it out. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Please do subscribe to the channel, by the way. Bottom right-hand corner, we're getting close to 354,000.